Now, this we are entering the third chapter, I think so. Okay, so we have already covered with two chapters. The details are with you. I have already shared the topics and the content also. Have everyone received the chapter 1 and 2 notes? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now this is third number chapter. I think Shahrukh is also knowing that this is what is actually working in industry. Okay, that is data pre-processing and ETL nowadays. Now this chapter is focusing on the data pre-processing. Now in this pre-processing, we will be talking about data cleaning task. Then how data integration and data reduction can be done, and decentralized and concept hierarchy generation. So these 3 points will be covering into this. Then after that, this is extraction, then transformation, that is data transform, that is on basic task in transformation, what all tasks are being performed, major data transform types कौन कौन से वो हम पढ़ेंगे, and last of this chapter the ETL tools, that is extract, transform and load. So ETL requirements, data extraction, the methods, the logical extraction method, the physical extraction method. So this we will be dealing into the chapter. And finally the L part, that is extract ho gaya, transform ho gaya, then last data loading, then how these data loading techniques are available, and the tools of ETLs we will be talking into this chapter. Is it clear to you what is actually the scenario of this chapter is? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So data pre-processing. Now this is one thing, that is data pre-processing in data mining. Now we are entering into, now whenever we are extracting something from data warehouse, we call it as data mining. This you have to keep in mind. Data warehouse matlab we are keeping data into databases, that is data warehouse. Now we are entering into the technique of called as a data pre-processing, and then extraction, then transforming, and then loading into the tools for your analysis purpose. So the thing is done by the mining. So chapter 3 onwards we are entering into the mining mode. Now the pre-processing of data mining, that is what is exactly it is. So we'll go into detail. The data pre-processing is a data mining technique which is used to transform the raw data in a useful and efficient format. Now what is exactly raw data? Now see, as we have talked that whenever any data is stored into the warehouse, it is in denormalized form. Okay, there is no relationship between the data whenever we are storing into the data warehouses. Now whenever you are extracting it, again we need to do some brushing up and all those things. We need to convert into dimensional table or your fact table. So that type of things we need to do whenever we are working in the preprocessor. So pre-processing the data, whenever before entering into the tools, we need to do some pre-processing. So I just show you the diagram. Actually what is this one? Okay, so just highlight it. I will zoom it so it will be visible to everybody. Okay, so now is it visible to everybody now? Yes. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now pre-processing can be done in three basic ways. We call it as cleaning, that is called as the data cleaning. Then that is data transformation and data reduction. Now cleaning also, transformation also, and reduction also, three property works we doing. Now what is exactly cleaning? Now missing data means what? Ignore the tuples. Now what is tuple? Can anyone tell me? This type of word is actually used in DBMS frequently. What is tuple? What is tuple? Yes, anyone? DBMS, the first line and first everywhere there is a tuple keyword this use. What is tuple? Anyone from your class? One row. For example, a tuple is, in this case, I will say, if I'm saying like this one, and I'm saying Danish, okay, and some number. Now for this, whether whatever the metadata it is, this is roll number, name or address, the record that is represented at this row is nothing but the tuple, that is combination of some columns, and it is binded with some row, one single row. So the record of Danish will be maintained over here only in this one. So second tuple will be the second record. So in the DBMS we call the row that containing the data into the column format as a tuple. Are you clear with this, the meaning of tuple? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes, I want to reply. Are you getting what is exactly the tuple means? Yes? Yes or no? हा किंवा नाही मराठीतनं
Yes,
बोललं
sir.
तर चालतं.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
what?
sir.
Aishwarya, are you getting what is tuple?
सर मी जस्ट आत्ताच जॉईन झाली.
Okay, Rohini. Okay. Now see, again I am telling. Again I am saying that data pre-processing, that is data cleaning. Missing data. How missing data is being checked? Ignore the tuple. Well, what is ignore the tuple? Tuple means what? Tuple means a row that contains a data into the column format. Now this is logical view actually. Okay, how it is maintained, that is a logical view. So one tuple means what? One row that contains a data into some format. So just like this data type is integer, string, and the number. So this data is maintained. We call this row number 7 this as a tuple. So this is what the says. Data cleaning means missing data. Now first one, ignore the tuple. Okay, cleaning, whenever you are doing cleaning, you have to ignore the tuples. Second one, fill the missing values manually by mean or by most probable values. Suppose we have some record like this one. So, example. Okay, so we have an example of this charitable hospital, and somewhere we have missed some data. Somewhere we have missed some data. Okay, somewhere we have missed some data like this one. Okay, now whenever you are extracting data, now this is nothing but a unique trust number, and this data is not having nothing into this. So whenever we are loading for the purpose of mining, we should fill the empty spaces. We should fill the empty spaces. So if it is nil, then you have to put it null values. Okay, so there should be something over here. So then only it is possible that the record values will be maintained, because empty data is not a concept in DBMS. DBMS के अंदर सेल के अंदर अगर कुछ नहीं होगा, that should be treated as null, and if it is not there, you have to put something into this one. So this is what is expected whenever you are working with the null values. So fill the missing values manually, yeah, by means or by most probable values. जो आपको probable value चाहिए, यानी check constraint जैसा होता है, अगर किसके पास नहीं होता default, so you will be adding something. So if it is not like this, you don't want to add something into this one. Okay, sorry, you don't want to add into this one, you don't have a record over here, you just put it over here, no data. So whenever there is nothing in your hand, you can put this value, that is no data or unknown information, you can put it. So you can do this one. So this is basically done whenever you are moving with the data cleaning. So cleaning matlab kya? Ignore the tuples which are having a data, but fill the record with some values if it is found empty. Second one, noisy data. Noisy data matlab kya? Binding methods, regression and clustering. So noisy data means data which is what do you call as use without use, that is not of any use. So here if you say that this is trust name or hospital name, I will just show you one data. One second, I just show you one data. If it is not there, one second. मेरे सिस्टम के अंदर है कि नहीं, मैं घर के सिस्टम में है. ओके, so I will show you in the next session that how this data has been it has been stored, and how it has been, मैं वो next session में दिखा दूँ. Now regression and clustering. Now the situation is where unknown data, the data that is not required for the purpose of analysis, that need to be bifurcated from the data that is been required for the analysis purpose. So this is cleaning. Unknown data bifurcated from the regular data. If regular data there is something missing, nothing is there, you have to add some default values, or you put some null values into that one, so that it will be clean, it will be available for the purpose of mining. This is the one thing you have to do for data pre-processing. Second one, transformation. Now transformation one means what? Now the data which is stored into data warehouses, it is in denormalization form. Everyone is knowing that denormalization form means there is no relationship. Now whenever you are moving the data into the data mining, now you have to transform the data into normalization. Means what? You have to convert the data with primary key and foreign key. You need to connect your tables with one another, which is not there in your data warehouses, but you have to do this into your data mining. This is the most important task you have to do as far as pre-processing is concerned into your mining. Second one, attribute selection. What all attributes, if you want to change it, you change the data type of the attribute also. It is as and when required. Then this uh, disretization means the data which is not of any use, that need to be put it something separately. And last one, concept hierarchy generation. Now you have to maintain the hierarchy of the data. If the data it is there, what is a dimensional table, what is a fact table, on that parameter you have to dimension, you have to create the hierarchy of the data. So for example, if I take the example of address, now address contains state, street, pin code. So this whole data need to be clustered into the address, so there should be the hierarchy. So hierarchy that will be maintaining what will be the first record. So that is nothing but your transformation. Cleaning means removing, ignoring the data, and checking the data if it is having a null value or filter, nothing is there in the cell, that need to be replaced, and remove the noisy data. Now transformation, you have to create a normalization, matlab primary key foreign key relationship you have to maintain. You can do some changes in your attributes also if required in a date format. If you want to access a data into separate format, it need to be changed into that perspective format. The sterilization means what, whatever data you are thinking that it should be in the same format, it should be visible in front of you as far as the transformation is concerned. Basically this is with regarding the numbers or the numbers into the decimal format, so 2-digit decimal, 3-digit decimals. So it is basically up to you. So if I put 10.25, so I just want precision value should be increased to like this one. So you can change these values also. If you don't want this to be 25.24, you want it to merge up with to the only one single, you have to do. If you want to want only to decimal, you can do it this one. So this is basically done whenever we are working with this technique called as uh, uh, deserialization. Okay, so this technique you have to do in transformation. And then last one, data reduction. Data reduction means what, data cube aggregation. What is cube? Cube here it is nothing but a server. Okay, so you have to aggregate the data, cluster the data, then attribute subset selection. So attributes which are required, that need to be subsetted. Then numericity reduction, you have to reduce the data as much as you can. Redundancy should be maintained, redundancy that should be omitted. And dimensionally reduction, so dimension matlab kya, rows and columns, if there are 50-70 columns, whatever columns are required, keep those columns only. Which are unnecessary columns having repeated data, that need to be ignored. In the same example over here, we have the trust name, hospital name, and the hospital address. uh, if you are doing working on the hospitals, then there is no need for you to maintain the hospital address also. So this part can be ignored or hide from the databases as and when required. So just you have to work on this data. So that thing you can do or maintain with the help of this data reduction. So reduction matlab kya, unnecessary data that is not required, that need to be removed. This should be initialized, this should be identified before it is being pre-processed or before it is being processed for the purpose of creating analytical reports. Are you clear with this pre-processing techniques? Three techniques: data cleaning, data transformation, and data reduction. Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes, everyone, I want to answer.
Yes, sir.
Sir.
Now we'll talk about those steps. Okay, so what all steps are there? So steps, first is the cleaning technique. Now this is what I am saying. So the data can have many irrelevant and missing parts. To handle this part, cleaning, data cleaning is done, which involves handling of missing data, noisy data, etc. So missing data means what, the situation arises when some data is missing into the data. It can be handled with two ways. Okay, what is the two ways? Ignore the tuple. Either you can ignore that record if it is not required, ignore it, but it should be small. If it is large data, you cannot do this one. So this approach is suitable only when the data sets we have is quite large and multiple values are missing within the tuple. So if there is some column but some many of the values are missing into that row, you better go for removing that rows. That is the thing you can do in the cleaning. And second one, filling the missing values. If some of the column is having no value, then you try to go for filling those values by some null values, which is responsible for that attribute. If null is added into column, it is feasible. If null is already added into text part, it is feasible. So depend upon your requirement, you have to fill those values. But the maximum recorders are not available, multiple columns are having not values, then you go for ignoring that tuples. Matlab kya? Ignoring that row. That is the thing you have to do as far as the data cleaning is concerned. Okay, now as far as the second part, there is a noisy data. Means what? The noisy data is meaningless data. मैंने जैसे बोला, it is meaningless data that cannot be interpreted by machine, जिसका कुछ उपयोग use नहीं होता. So you have to find those noisy data and you just go for removing that noisy data. So this is the technique called as a binding method. This method is used basically for remove the noisy data. Noisy मतलब क्या? Meaningless data. Are you clear this with this? Noisy means वो आवाज नहीं करता, but it is meaningless. Unnecessary, we are just watching. अगर ये मेरे सामने रख रहा है तो मेरे को ये कुछ काम का चीज़ें नहीं है, यानी I don't want this one to be maintained. Okay, trust number energy. This is noisy for me. Unnecessary. I am not getting any information from this one. Okay, so for me this is noisy data in this table. So you can choose whatever is your noisy data. You just go and ignore this data. The technique is it has been handled by the following ways. जैसे मैंने बोला, binary method is one of the best method being used. And now what is there in this method? This method work on store data in order to smooth it. Okay, so while data is divided into segments of equal size, then various methods are performed to complete the task. Each segment is handled separately. One can replace all data in a segment by its mean or boundary values can be used to take the task. This is the called is a binding method. Binding method, this method work on sorted data in order to smooth it. So it goes for sorting of data, and into this, if it is found that the data is found to be common or repeated, that it will be removing that one. This is called as a binding method. Second one is regression. Regression means what? Data can be made smooth by fitting it to the regression function. What is regression function? The regression uses used may be linear, having one independent variable, or multiple, having multiple independent variables. So regression, this keyword is basically used in testing also. Okay, so regression testing matlab kya? From top to bottom. This word, the meaning of the word regression is from top to bottom, from start to end. Okay, so here we are searching for the data from top to end, and we are finding having independence variable or dependent or multiple variables that is been identified in the regression. Third one is clustering. I guess, as again said, this approach is a grouping approach. Basically it is working in groups. The similar data in the cluster that is being maintained. If it is having some sense, that it will be maintained. If it is having no sense to be maintained, then it will be removed. So this is nothing but your cleaning. So clustering will be giving the output whether the record having some impact on your analysis, that will be removed. Regression will be reading the data from top to bottom and just finding out the dependency on the variable, whether it is multiple dependent or single dependent variable. That has been done. Now second technique is called as, we have as we have seen, that is a transformation. Now transforming a record like this, normalization. This is done on the scale of data values. This I have seen, this is ranging, that you can do normalization, that is foreign key, primary key, then attribute selection. So as I have said that you can change your attributes as and when required. You can convert string into character or character into date. So date can be converted for the purpose of some operation. You need to have that into a character. You can convert it. If you want something to be converted into date format, that can be changed. If you want to change the date formats also, YYY format to only YY formats, that can be changed. You want the date should be displayed in a day like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that can be done. So that is called as attribute selection. What is suitable for you, go for that one. This serialization I saw, this is done to replace the raw value of the numeric attribute by iterative levels or conceptual levels. Then hierarchy generation, attribute are converted for a low level to high level hierarchy. This is maintained, just like I have given the example, that is a city can be converted to the country also. So this type of hierarchy conversion can be done. So basically this is nothing but your transformation. You are converting your data into another format that is giving you or helping you for generating some reports. So that's for that reason we are doing transformation. Cleaning is done for the purpose of removing unnecessary noisy data or blank data to be replaced with some data or some reliable data, so that the analysis will be done faster. And the third technique is data reduction. Now this is the most important technique, that is data reduction. Since data mining is a technique that is used to handle huge amount of data, it can be 1 billion, 10 billion, or 19 lakh records, or 20 lakh records, or 30 lakh records. So we need to go for reduction. So while working with this phenomena, the volume of data, the analysis become hardened. The more the volume of data, it becomes very difficult for the analyst to take a decision. So in order to get rid of this, the user data reduction technique is used. Now data reduction technique is used. There are following steps I have told you. There are steps like data cube aggregation. You can go for attribute subset selection, or you can go for numerosity reduction also, that is, and last one, dimensionality reduction also. So these are the four different techniques used for the purpose of data reduction. So the volume of data can be reduced by these four techniques, basically implemented whenever we are working with the data mining. So are you clear with this one? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes. Anyone? Abhijit, are you getting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Rohan? No problem.
Yes, sir.
ओके. सो आप रिप्लाई देते जाओ यार, मेरे को समझ में नहीं आता, मेरे को लग रहा है मैं सिर्फ बात कर रहा हूँ, आप सुन रहे कि नहीं मेरे को भी समझ में नहीं आ रहा. यू जस्ट रिप्लाई इमीजिएटली. जब मैं पूछता हूँ तो मेरे को यस नो से बोलते जाओ. Okay, so this is what we call as a pre-processing. Pre-processing means we have not entered into actual data analysis now. We just want the data is in front of me, and then now I want to convert this into some analytical report. So first task is that is called the pre-processing. So check out what is exactly going wrong into the data, because we will be receiving data in lakhs of records. So 19 lakhs, 20 lakhs, or 30 lakhs records. So how to get some inference from those? So this is the most and crucial part you have to do into this mining. That is, you have to go for data pre-processing. That can be done in the three ways which I have told you: cleaning, transformation, and last one is reduction. Reduction is the one most important thing, because here you have to be very conscious. Unnecessary, you don't go for deleting any type of record. So it should be done with some techniques. You should go for a very precise for process also, then only it is possible to go for reduction. Otherwise it will be creating a nuisance in the final report also. Okay, cleaning can be done. Okay, cleaning is tick. Transformation is required as and when required, depend upon the situation or the problem statement. You have to go for transformation. But reduction is very crucial issue. You have to think whenever you are doing some reduction into data cubes with through aggregation, or through subset selection, or through numerosity reduction, or through dimensional reduction. You have to be very precise whenever you go for the cleaning, or what you call as a reduction into data. So shall we move further now? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is pre-processing and the cleaning task we have talked about. Now the data integrity and reduction, the second one. Now data integration, which I have told you, that is, this example will be helping us to know what is exactly this one. Okay, so now see, whenever we are working with the databases, we have a different data sources over here. Okay, and we are wrapping the data into the cubes. This will be called as a servers, and these cubes will be interconnected to one another, we call as a virtual databases. Okay, so data can be integrated from source 1 to source 2, and source 2 to source 2. So this type of process, whenever we are doing in the process of mining, we need to go for the connectivity between the databases, connectivity between the wrappers are nothing but the cubes, and we need to create a temporary, we call it as a virtual databases. Now this technique is to overall be called as integration. We call it as integration. Integration means what? Different data sources integrating with one another to fetch or to mine a data that will be doing some excellent, what we call as analytical reports in the future. Okay, so what is data integrity as far as data mining is concerned? So data integrity is data pre-processing, again technique, which involves combining data from multiple heterogeneous data sources into coherent data store and provide a unified view of the data. So this is the only definition. Again I am saying, this is multiple heterogeneous data. Multiple heterogeneous means matlab kya, this data is not interconnected with one another, these are not similar with one another. This may be a db2 database, this may be an oracle database, this may be a sybase database. All data sources can be different. So what is the common thing is that, because you might be knowing that sql syntax which is written in oracle is not same as the sql statement that is written into microsoft server, and it is not same with the database which is sql which is written into your db2. It's तीनों के syntax 10% there is a variation into the syntax or the statement of the databases. So it is very difficult for having an interaction between this different type of data sources. मतलब अलग अलग कंपनी के databases अलग अलग तरीके से वर्कआउट होते, इन तीनों को इंटीग्रेट करने का काम, it is coming under the category called as data pre-processing. Are you clear with this one? So that's why data integration is data processing techniques which involves combination of the multiple heterogeneous data sources into coherent data and provide a unified view of the data to the user. Is it clear to everybody? Yes or no? Data integration? Yes or
Yes,
no?
sir.
Okay. Now this source may include multiple data cubes. Again I am telling, this is multiple cubes, huh? These are data servers. Okay, multiple cubes and databases. So we call this box as wrapper, we call this as a cube. Okay, now this cube is connected to the databases, or sometime it might be a flat files also. Okay, so these are the multiple things, and the data integration approach formally defined as a triple GSM, triple GSM, where G stands for global schema, which we have talked in the chapter number 2. S stands for heterogeneous sources. Heterogeneous sources, Oracle, SQL Server, Microsoft SQL servers or DB2, and M stands for mapping between the queries. जैसे मैंने बोला कि हर एक की क्वेरी अलग अलग होती है. Oracle query is never same as like of your IBM or DB2 database, or DB2 query is not same as Sybase database queries. So there should be a mapping between the queries of the source and global schema. So GSM is global schema, heterogeneous sources, and your mapping between the queries. So this you have to maintain whenever you are working with the data integrity. Is it clear to everybody? Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Rest. Rest.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now integration करने के लिए दो अलग approaches है. We call it as two major approaches. Two major approaches for going for data integrity. Now first one, we call this as an tight coupling approach. Tight coupling approach, and another one is called as a loose coupling approach. यही दो approaches है जिससे हम data integration कर सकते हैं. Okay, only two approaches are there for doing integration of data sources cubes with the virtual data sources for the purpose of retrieval. Tightly coupled approach and loosely coupled approach. Now what is tightly coupled approach? Okay, tightly coupling means what? Here the data warehouse is treated as an information retrieval component. This is only treated as information retrieval component. In this coupling, data is combined with the different sources into single physical location. Okay, and through the process of ETL, you are working. यानी डेटा सोर्स डेटा पूरा जो डेटा अलग अलग होगा, it is if it is coming from the single data warehouses, then in this situation we are going for tightly coupling. मतलब क्या, एक ही डेटा वेयर हाउस और उसमें एक ही जैसी इंफॉर्मेशन मेंटेन करके रखिए. इन दो सिचुएशन यू कैन गो फॉर टाइटली कपलिंग. बट whenever we talk about the loosely coupled means what? When an interface is provided that takes the query from the user transform the query it in a way that the source database can understand, and then send the query directly to the source database to obtain the result. Yani पहले in this one, query interface is provided that takes the query from the user. पहले user query देगा, query will be transformed in the way the data source, यानी data source आपका कौन सा भी हो सकता है, it can be Oracle, it can be Sybase, और it can be any data sources. ये अलग अलग होते हैं, इसके वजह से इनका इफेक्ट अलग होता है. जैसे मैंने बोला कि हर एक डेटाबेस की क्वेरी एग्जीक्यूट करने की और क्वेरी स्टेटमेंट अलग अलग होता है. सो इन दिस वे द यूजर क्वेरी इज टेकन, it is transformed into the source database, and then can understand and then send directly to the source database. So this is not a direct query firing on the database, it is indirect query formatting or indirect query execution on your database. That's why it is called as loosely coupled. But whenever your database is same and it is in the same data warehouses, you are following firing query directly on the database. So that's why it is called as tightly coupled data, what you call as tightly coupled data integration. Is it clear to everybody? अगर डेटाबेस एक ही होगा तो हम टाइटली कपल किए जाएंगे. अगर अलग अलग डेटा सोर्सेज हमारे पास होंगे, इन दो सिचुएशन यू विल बी गोइंग फॉर लूज कपलिंग. क्लियर और नॉट? यस और नॉट?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now there are some problems जिसको हम बोलते हैं issues. So there are issues in data integration. इतना करना it is not that much simple. So okay. So what are issues are there? There are no issues to conduct during the data integration. Schema integration, redundancy, detection, resolution of data value conflict. These are some of the ways where we can find out the issues. So what is schema integration? Now schema integration मतलब क्या? जैसे मैंने बोला कि if the data sources are different, means the schema which is implemented over there for storing the data is always different. Same way, if you are working with a data warehouse, each data warehouse will be defining its own schema, whether to go for star schema or your गैलेक्सी स्कीमा और योर स्नोफ्लेक स्कीमा, तो ये डिसाइड करते हैं कौन सा स्कीमा यहाँ पर होता है. सो देर इज ऑलवेज एन इशू रिगार्डिंग द स्कीमा इंटीग्रेशन. सो इंटीग्रेटेड मेटा डेटा फ्रॉम डिफरेंट सोर्सेज, द रियल वर्ल्ड एंटिटीज फ्रॉम मल्टीपल सोर्सेज आर.
हॅलो सर.
यस यस.
सर आवाज ब्रेक होतोय मध्ये.
ओके. इज इट ऑडिबल नाउ? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Now see, whenever you are working with data integrity, integration मतलब क्या, एक दूसरे के साथ हमारा बातचीत होना जरूरी है डेटा का एक दूसरे के साथ. नाउ वेयरहाउस इफ इट इज सेम, ये सेम वेयरहाउस होगा तो उसके अंदर स्कीमास भी अलग अलग कोई कोई लोग इम्प्लीमेंट करते. सो देर इज ऑलवेज अ प्रॉब्लम वेन एवर वी आर डूइंग गोइंग टू द डेटा इंटीग्रेशन, बहुत बार प्रॉब्लम होता है. सो स्कीमा का इंटीग्रेशन इज वन ऑफ द क्रूशियल थिंग दैट यू हैव टू डू दिस वन. Redundancy, because you will be getting data from data warehouse that is repeated, because there we are going for denormalization into data warehouse. So whenever we are integrating data from different data sources, so it becomes very difficult to reduce the redundancy. So that is again a crucial things that you have to maintain. Third one, detecting a resolution of data value conflict. So there is always an conflict with the data types whenever it has been extracted. Okay, so if I am having a company like Tata Industries, so you will be find that Tata is working in the automobile sector, it is working in the telecom sector, it is working into your IT also, it is working into your uh, uh, what you call as different cost retailing shops like just like your Titan and all those things. So each database is being, it is not like that the Tata is using a database or the data sources same for all his companies. It will be situation by situation whichever data sources it is applying. So the TCS might be using some different data sources, or your automobile sectors like Tata Motors can be using some another, or your Titan and all those its franchises can be using some other data sources. So if I as an owner of this Tata group, if I want to get an information from different data sources, it is very difficult because we need to go for integration these databases. So in this situation, uh, the problem is related to the schema integration, regarding the redundancy of the data, and third most important, that is the detection and resolution of data values. What is data value? Data value is nothing but the data types. Okay, so that might be a conflict between the data, it might be having a conflict with the data dates also. So whatever dates format they are maintaining, or the currency values they are maintaining. Okay, so that can be a crucial part for the integration. The fourth, these are the basic what we call as the issues as far as whenever we move towards the data integration. So are you clear with this point, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so in today's chapter we'll wind up with this one. In today's chapter we have talked about the data pre-processing. This is the name of actually chapter. The first point we have covered, that is data cleaning task that we have done with data pre-processing, that is cleaning been done into this way. So what we have talked about, that is missing data or a noisy data we have talked. Then we have got talked about the process of pre-processing, that is the second phase, that is data transformation. And the third phase of data pre-processing, that is data reduction. So this three process, as we call it, is a pre-processor, and it is a part of data cleaning. Okay, and in second session we have, in the today's session we have also talked about the data integration part only. Okay, we have not touched data reduction now. Okay, data integration part we have covered into this section. Okay, so pre-processing is a combination of data cleaning, here like this one, data integration and data reduction. Okay, so this is the thing we have covered. In upcoming session tomorrow we will be talking, tomorrow my lecture will not be there, but I will be sharing something on the ETLs in my morning session. Okay, so I am expecting that you should spend your 1 hour for what is the exactly going on in the ETL tools, and how these tools are being beneficial in the coming trends. So the video will be shared in tomorrow morning. You will just go through that video for 1 hour and read about the information about what exactly the data mining is, and how these ETL tools are working in the data mining. Okay, so if you have our doubts about the data cleaning or data integration, you can speak with me now. Otherwise we'll meet on Monday. We will be covering the parts in upcoming session on data reduction, uh, decentralization and concept hierarchy generation. Then we'll be talking about the transformation in the upcoming sessions, the how we can go for transformation, that is a second step, normalization and all those things. So okay, any doubts, any question you want to ask on this chapter? Okay, no doubts.
No, sir.
Okay, so the notes will be sent to you. You go through the notes and read and thorough up what are the basic things which are required for the data mining prerequisites. Okay, so we'll meet on Monday on the first session, and we'll continue with the lectures on data mining. Okay, so I am expecting June exam के form नहीं भरे, be hurry, submit those forms immediately, fill your scholarship form immediately on first priority, because the deadline is 30.